for this discussion, and I call now Executive Vice President, Commissioner Frans Timmermans, to take the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Very briefly, honourable members, first of all, I need to stress that those who say slow down to save our economy, slow down to save our jobs, I think they are wrong. If we want to save our jobs, if we want to save our economy, we actually should be speeding up. Look at what's happening globally. Some say, well, look at China, 30% of the emissions, still increasing the emissions. There's also another way you could look at China. Half of the cars sold in China now are already electric cars. Their investment in renewables is beyond our wildest imagination. The transition to renewable energy will be very fast. Look at the Inflation Reduction Act in the United States. This will have a huge impact on the transition to renewable economy. Honourable members, we just don't have the luxury of slowing down. If we really want jobs that are sustainable jobs, future-oriented jobs, if we want our economy to be competitive in the future, this transition needs to happen, and it needs to happen now. And I salute the European Parliament, its majority, in seeing the necessity of this and voting on these three proposals tomorrow. My second point is this. Our approach is not an ideological approach. I fear that closing your eyes for science is the ideological approach. Let scientists inform us. Let science guide us. That's how we should use rational thought in this, not ideology. And the science is crystal clear. I would say the science is also crystal clear on what's happening in our sinks. And by monitoring what's happening, we can find solutions. If the European Commission monitors, and I respect Finnish colleagues and Swedish colleagues saying, what do you know as a Dutchman about forest? You know every individual tree in the Netherlands by name. I respect that. But then at least listen to your own scientists. Let them guide you and let us help you in taking the right decisions. This is my plea. It's member states themselves decide, but let the decision be a rational one based on science. And finally, some of you made remarks about cars, and here let me also take away a misunderstanding. Our legislation says there should be no emissions at the tailpipe in 2035. That's what was agreed between the co-legislators. In my view, that's technological neutrality. If you can make something that creates propulsion without emissions, you can make the choice yourself. So if in Germany they're always talking about Verbrenner and all of that, we're saying no emissions at the tailpipe. And whatever you can find to have no emissions at the tailpipe is in line with the legislation. Also here, let science and economic logic dictate the choices we need to make. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Timmermans. And now we come to the three rapporteurs, and I call Jessica POLFJÄRD to the floor. Thank you.
Tack herr talman, och tack till er som har deltagit i debatten. Jag tycker att det har funnits en ganska bred samsyn hur vi faktiskt kan jobba tillsammans, och vill vi någonting så har vi också kunnat visa att då kan vi också få det att hända. Vägen fram är inte spikrak. Det har flera vittnat om här, att det finns delar som man skulle vilja ha gått längre eller delar som man skulle vilja se mindre av. Men det är det här som vi också har kommit fram till och kunna kompromissa om för att kunna nå ett resultat. Som rapportör så har man förstått att det kan vara så att man åldras ganska fort under en förhandling, men att vi ser att det är glädjande att kunna ha ett resultat som vi ska rösta om imorgon. Men använd aldrig Rysslands olagliga annektering av Ukraina som ursäkt för att sänka ambitionerna i det här huset. Den dagen Putin får sätta agendan i ett demokratiskt vald församling, ja då har vi förlorat. Det finns ingen ursäkt att sänka våra ambitioner, utan vi måste öka möjligheterna till demokratiskt arbete för att kunna nå fram och kunna nå en enighet som håller över tid. Jag hoppas att vi här imorgon kan anta det här lagförslaget där vi har målsättningar, där vi har lagstiftning för att kunna nå de målen som vi alla gemensamt kommit överens om. Tack.
Thank you very much, dear colleague. The next speaker is Mr. Ville NIINISTÖ. Floor is yours.
Mr. President, thank you for the debate and the positive constructive spirit. And I obviously also want to answer to the question stated by one MEP about, is this enough? Obviously, we all know when it comes to climate ambition and keeping the global warming to 1.5 degrees or even close to that, we as Europe also need to do more. So when it comes to the land use sector, my view is that this is the starting point. We are now starting for the first time to have a proper increase of carbon sinks policy, and this is the basis where we will build on post-2030 to continue increasing our carbon sinks. And when it comes to member states' contributions, there were some who were saying that some member states need to do more, some less, and this is unfair. Well, everybody needs to contribute more in comparison to the inventory years. And I think it's important also for the Commission and us as a Parliament to send a signal that those countries who actually start to think about land use in a different way, how can we increase sustainability in a way that is good for economics as well, that creates jobs, that will be more productive for agriculture, for forestry, and takes more into consideration the biodiversity as well, they will also be better off in the future. So if they postpone having a proper carbon sink policy, my view is that some member states still don't have one. They just report what has happened. The Commission needs to intervene. You have the tools in this regulation to intervene and help member states to realize that tapping into regenerative farming and forestry is a possibility for the member states, for the economics, but also a necessity for the climate. Finally, also the compromise includes the review for the Commission to go through in late 2024 what to do beyond this. And there is very clear language also that all land use sectors need to contribute. So we need to also see how agriculture will be better climate-wise, how we can support carbon farming in also public policies, not just private companies' contributions. And when it comes to forestry, we need to look at better management methods, cascading principle, higher added value for products, so getting more economic well-being out of less amount of resources. So the harvesting amounts we do have today, they are a problem, and we need to also solve that, not just going for the bulk industry when it comes to forestry, but have more higher-end products with lesser impact for a negative impact for climate and biodiversity. That is the way for the economics of this sector as well as all the other sectors. They are not going to succeed by trying to hanging on to bad practices. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I see Mr. Enger is not in the room, so the debate is now closed. And as you all know, the vote will take place tomorrow. So we now come to the